and color guard and everything was beautiful. And we're here with Bob Martin, and we're here with Fred Kohala. And he's I was told, the famous Fred. I never really interviewed Fred, so I only know a few things about him. Now, I do know that he knows somebody because he's like in the front page of the program for Kohala Reunion. So can you just, there's listeners all over the world, because now we're streamed live, all over, not just in Kohala. So for these people in Brazil and New Jersey and Canada and on the mainland, how did this get started and why? Wait. For some reason, hold on. Not plugged in? It is plugged in, but I'm not getting anything. Yeah, but it's actually, yeah, it's on, but we don't hear anything. That's not good. Try it again.
Hello.
No. For some reason, it's not.
Want me to replug?
Yeah, let's check this out. Oh, I
No difficulty?
Okay, you know what? It is tremendous that we're doing this and learning from it, because Catch Murphy and Catch 22 is right there with us.
Murphy's Law will always work.
Well, sadly, we just
can't have it. It does happen.
Yes, because sadly we just had a major news event, and that kind of changed the equipment over to get something done. Okay, so I apologize. To start over with why this was started and what it is.
The reason why this was started, back in the turn of the century, the centennial, there were many people talking about a whole new era coming up. It was the first, we're into the 2000s. And some of us in Kohala felt like, well, we're looking ahead for the 19th, 20th century, but there's a lot of things that we didn't want to lose and forget in Kohala. Those of us who grew up here looked around, and the demographics was changing very rapidly. It was mostly Malihini. 80%, I would say, the population in Kohala at that time were people who were not born and raised here, and that speaks a lot about Kohala. It's a place that a lot of people like to come. It attracts people from all over the world, and we're kind of glad about that too. On the other hand, we're losing not only people, but we're losing the rich historical legacy of this special place. By legacy, I mean, every community in Brazil, in Connecticut, in New Zealand, every community has a feeling, a sense of place. And that feeling comes from people, places, the land, Aina, as we say in Hawaii, the Aina, and everything that makes Kohala what it is. And we use the term Kohala Ne. Now, my understanding is that when you add that second phrase to Kohala Ne, it means everything in Kohala. It means the birds, the bees, the animals, the insects, the land, the air, the trees, the people. The Kohala Ne is inclusive. It's everybody. And so Kohala Ne has a rich history, and none of it was being passed on. None of it was being passed on because old timers, didn't see it as being that critical or important. So, again, to answer your question, why? Was to preserve what makes this place special. To be sure that we have information that we can share, that we have exhibits, that we have entertainment, we have a time, a venue, a place, and we knew where to do it for a 4-day period. And if you notice, the thematic approach that we use really goes back to ancient Hawaii before Western contact, and then to the missionaries and ranchers, and then the plantation era and post-plantation. But we also are willing to face the future and say, okay, so we know where we've been, but where are we going? Mm-hmm. Where are we going? But the sense was, before we even think about where we're going, do we know where we came from? Do we know where we came from? And so one of the main reasons for this community reunion, homecoming of sorts, was to answer that question, where did we come from? What makes Kohala Kohala? what is the cumulative experiences that makes this place what it is. And let's not try to lose that. Let's try to capture it. Let's try to share it. And the more we can share it, the better it is. And I can truly say that what I've seen um, from 2000 till now, every community reunion we've had really does its job to fulfill that mission. Share who we are, what we are, and what makes this place so special. So that's the why.
But that's a great explanation. And you have seen some evolution from the first one to now. What would you say in the 15 years is the biggest change in this particular reunion as opposed to the one in 2000, the first one?
Well, it hasn't been really drastic changes. They've been subtle, but I think the focus has been increasing on Kohala's future, Kohala's future. But a lot of the interest, and because I'm responsible for all the exhibits, I make it a point to take a good look at this. Most of the exhibits now are not just people with something interesting they want to show. It has to be related to Kohala. And the central area here, the shift has been not just for some particular person who has something to show, but groups and organizations that serve Kohala. There's been a shift to that. We want to give time to people who are doing things for Kohala to tell their story, because they have a story to tell too. And so this is a good venue for doing that. And the things that have not changed are the thematic exhibits.
Well, history is history.
History is history. And of course, they have to be updated. I like what's happening now with the Kohala Pride. I think when we first started, we had a Kohala Hall of Fame maybe with just 2 or 3 people, because we hadn't really given that much thought. But over the years, I think more thought has been going into show our appreciation to the men and women of Kohala who have really made special contributions, not just to the community, but to the whole world. Example, Dr. Dennis Gonzalez. Did you interview him?
We're going to talk to him next.
Okay. Well, Dennis and I grew up, we were neighbors. I mean, I could practically spit on his wall from the boundary of our house. I mean, we were that close. And he was nice, Kohala boy, Portuguese, Hawaiian, Chinese. His brother was my classmate. I knew so intimate. He, to make a long story short, he went to Kamehameha, like I did, and I met him. I think it was back in 1965, and I was working on my master's degree at the University of Hawaii, and there was Dennis in the library doing some research. I said, Dennis, what the hell are you doing here? Well, it says I kind of finishing up my BA, and I'm thinking about, maybe going to UC Davis, get a master's, maybe at the University. Whoa, brother. UC Davis, University of Florida. Where you like go up there? Oh, the best schools for agriculture. Dennis and a lot of our work, we really were men of the earth. I mean, our hands were in the ground. And that's what he wanted to study. Well, he goes on to get his degree at the University of UC Davis and then at the University of Florida in plant pathology, figuring out what makes plants grow, how they thrive, and why they die. I think I'm saying this correctly, and he might have to correct me later on, but he figures out how to diagnose citrus trees in a way that can predict their health long before they die.
Wow.
You know how much that is worth to the citrus industry?
Oh, sure.
Billions. Because now they could look at a tree, test it, and treat it. Previously, by the time they looked at the tree, it was dead, it was gone. They had to cut it, plant another one. Dennis figured out a way to diagnose what was going on with that tree and cure it. He has lectured. The citrus bulbs in the world bow down to him. He's lectured in the Mediterranean, Spain, Italy, China. You know how much he's done for Texas food industry?
And he's from Kohala.
And he's from Kohala. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Let's say hallelujah. Yay, hallelujah. Up camp, hallelujah. Not up camp, hallelujah. So, that's a very good example.
Mhm.
And there are other people, like Shoken Maikawa, who made the Olympic boxing team. My God, it's big guys. Akone Puli, he was the first Democrat from Kohala that beat the Republicans, and they threw the whole 9 yards at him to get him out of. They never could. They never could. He skated it for like 28 years, and that's why, this highway, Akone Puli Highway, is there. And what did he do outside of the legislature? He was a custodian at Kilkeel Park.
Wow.
Just a simple, nice guy, and everybody reached him at Oconee Park. I mean, he groomed that place like he groomed legislation for Kohala. It was his pride and joy. But, so the question said, what has evolved? I think the Kohala's pride. I hope next time we do this, you'll see, we'll need more room. We'll need more room because there are more and more people from Kohala doing good things.
So in 2020, you see even more about the future.
Yes.
Obviously, the past.
Oh yeah, I think.
The same.
So like Monday, we're looking for a whole rousing discussion right here. All of these exhibits have to be done by Sunday, by tomorrow.
Right, because the kids are back here in the gym.
Well, even if they weren't back here, the plan was to hold small group discussion.
Okay.
Here, so it wasn't, and I don't know what happened to the County Parks and Recreation Department, some communication. We thought you only going to be here on the outside. Huh? So they scheduled the gym. Anyway, we're glad that we're here. So over the 15 years, things have changed. Some of the entertainers have changed. They come from Kohala, but Emiliano Pahoa, that group wasn't here 15 years ago. Henry Dulan, he's been here forever.
And he's going to be here for a lot longer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hear him playing out there?
Oh, yeah. I remember Cosmos, his gang, and I danced with those guys in the Loops Inn.
I need to know, was Henry, is he that much of a ladies' man?
Always.
So that's,
always.
Did you know
and he made no bones about, okay, his wife was Frances Rocha. All right. Kohala Theater, famous Kohala Theater, Hallelujah, probably really, you've seen the pictures, the best-looking theater on this entire island. It was all pride and joy. Okay? Every Sunday, no matter what it was, it didn't matter what was playing. Everybody went to the movies. For us kids, it was 9 cents.
Oh, my goodness.
9 cents.
And what year are we talking about?
Oh, when it opened up, I think 42, 41.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going into the early 50s and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah, 9 cents. And popcorn, 5 cents a bag. For 15 cents, we had a wonderful afternoon at the movies with your friends, and, getting it on. And the gal who made popcorn was Frances Rocha.
You're not going to tell me that he got an extra helping of popcorn.
I think he got more than that.
Oh!
But Henry just leaned on that counter and just chatted with her. I mean, you could almost predict every Sunday Francis would be popping corn and Henry would be there giving it his best shot.
Yeah.
And the whole world watched him.
And how many years from there did he get married?
Well, when I first started courting her, there was maybe 42, 43. But then I went away to Kamehameha School, so I lost track. But it did not surprise me at all that they got married. I mean, that was destined. But again, the point, he I think gave all of us kids a textbook lesson on courting.
He's very suave.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Fred, I have time for it. We're getting a little short on time, but we still have 5 minutes, and I do have a question.
Sure.
I was reading Kathy Matsuda's email this morning, and part of it was who can be the chair. We're looking for a chair for the next reunion.
Yes, I said that there's about 12 of us in the planning committee.
Right.
And I looked around. The first meeting we went to over a year ago, and I looked around. I was very pleased. These were all Kohala Kamaina, second, third generation Kohala people, deeply rooted, young. So at the second to the last meeting, I said, "Is there anything more we got to do?" Yes, yes. There's something we got to discuss. He goes, "I believe somewhere in this meeting, somewhere in this room, is sitting the next chairman for the next reunion. And I hope it's one of you, because it ain't going to be me. It's not going to be Dennis. It ain't going to be David.
Right. Oh, David.
We did it the first. So the thought was put out there a lot earlier. And we know that it's a hell of a commitment. I mean, it's over a year of planning. So, yes, I think the earlier, as soon as we can identify people who are willing to step up, the better it's going to be. And, I've been looking at all this, and, people are willing to help. But it's the big ones, right? Like yesterday, I had to put up, 50 signs on the highway. No sweat. Oh, fuck it, do the door, boom, boom, boom. But the guy that helped me do it is Nario. And I'm looking at him, and I said, he may not want to be chairman. He could take charge of the historic site, right? The sign. And so my thought on that is get people who can commit to the small stuff, and then show we already got people committed. Now you got more likely some chair can.
You got to recruit somebody that can do that.
Yeah, we already got the exhibit space. We already got the logistics. We already got this stuff to do. Finding a chairperson would be a lot easier rather than, not all from scratch. We don't have nothing. Who wants to be chair?
Yeah, it's something that's going to have to be worked on.
It's going to be
all the time now until we can arrange that.
And I remember
talking to Fred Cachola on KNKR 96.1 FM. I have one question before I forget. When are the signs going to come down, and is there any chance it can stay up a day or two?
I wish we can keep them up for a day or 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because this is a little confession, but I never asked the highway division what we want to do, because I think I know what the answer will be.
Ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Right. Right. But it's only going to be up for 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to make another point. Back in the year 2000, we knew that there were a lot of people in Kohala that were living in Honolulu. So to get word to them, we said, everybody give us your address to the people you know. And we got a bunch. We send them out. We said, come down to Central area, Pearl City, Bayside Park. We're going to put up signs. We're going to put up maps. And somehow Bob Kraus is perhaps, the commentator for the Istanbul Jane Advertiser. And he came out and said, I can't believe what you guys are doing. I've never seen a community do it.
Really?
Never seen. And he wrote a beautiful article on isolated, insulated Kohala, 22 miles on the main highway, and here we have so much pride and sense of place, and we celebrate that,
And even a local radio station.
And even a local radio station now. This is a new elevation. And, I was saying to Bob, and there are things that radio can do that no other medium can. Radio can stimulate your vision, your mind. You can see things in your own perspective. That you're not limited to a TV camera.
Mm-hmm.
You can see and think about broad things. Television cannot do that. It forces you. It focuses you to look at what we're looking at. Radio doesn't do that. radio cannot do that. In fact, it shouldn't do that.
Well, Fred, we're looking forward to you being on the Kohala Radio a lot.
Oh, I love to
in
come
the
back
coming months.
because, there's a whole bunch of Kohala's history that people are still learning
Right.
about.
And there's so many opportunities with you and we can help. But your wealth of knowledge, your experience, your point of view, and your just being you is really, really important, and would be an important factor for us on the radio.
Yeah,
It's great
Bob,
room and
a lot of
opportunity.
times when I look at the future of Kohala, seriously, the more I look at the future, I see the past.
Yeah.
Kohala's past is, it means so much to what we can do, what we should do.
Right.
And if we ignore our rich legacy, we lose not only who we are,
Yeah.
we lose Kohala.
Right.
We really do. We've got to bring that with us.
Well, we can't lose Kohala. We're not going to lose Kohala.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank
keeping
you.
Kohala too, and congratulations. And what's your call sign?
KNKR, like North Kohala Radio.
North Kohala Radio, 96.1.
96.1, folks.
Yes.
Tune in, 96.1.
Well, Fred, we would ask you when you're in the neighborhood to come by and maybe we can record a few station IDs from you.
I would love to do that.
Pleasure to have you.
I would love to do that. Okay, gentlemen, aloha. Thank you very much for allowing me some time to share this.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Aloha.
And that was Fred Cachola, and man, he's the wealth of information for Kohala, and very instrumental, obviously, in providing the reunion. In fact, if you have the program for the Kohala 2015 reunion, you see that he's got a whole story on page 18, our Kohala Reunion, the beginning. So, great interview. Bob is out,
Hey, Len.
rounding up our next interviewee.
Yeah, Len, this is the studio talking. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Len. Can you reiterate again for folks about the tree down? We have a tree down.
Marika is not here. I believe it's near the. I honestly, I'm not sure.
Well, I've heard from this
She had
end.
all that.
Yeah.
She had all that information, and I know that there was a roadblock. I heard that the traffic was actually backed up.
Right, that's what I'd heard too. Halava Gulch is what I'd heard. But apparently, yeah, they're turning away traffic, and there's some power lines down also. So if you're heading out that way, so I just want to give folks a heads up about that.
Kohala Gulch, yes. And so if we get any other information, actually, Tim, who is a reporter for us, was on Instagram and provided that information, and then it went on to Marika's phone, and so she had all the information. I never really got totally, and then I couldn't get it to play properly. Anyway, we're here. Are you my next interview guest?
I think that's all.
Dennis. Dennis, Len, you're the renowned scientist.
That's what you tell me? I don't know.
I just had Fred Cachola here, and Fred was telling me all kinds of stories about you growing up and how you went to University of in Florida.
Yeah, first the University of Florida and then to Cornell University for 25 years, yeah.
And that you go all over the world discussing a research that you found on discovering citrus trees and how sick they are ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm a plant pathologist.
Okay.
And I specialize in plant viruses.
Okay.
So during my career, I did a number of works at different things on viruses of citrus, viruses of grapevines. Then in Hawaii, I did the genetically engineered papaya, the rainbow papaya. So that's the one that we developed starting way back in 1978.
Okay.
So that's my profession.
But as Fred was indicating, a Kohala boy. And where do you live now?
I live in Hilo.
Okay.
Um,
We're still on the big island.
yeah, but I was away for a long time. After I left Kohala in the ninth grade to go to Kamehameha. So I graduated there, and then I got my bachelor's, master's, and a PhD. My PhD was from University of California, Davis. So then I went to University of Florida, worked for 6 years. Then I went up to Cornell University, worked there for 25 years. And actually, it was during that time that I would come back to to Hawaii about once or twice a year to work on the virus disease of papaya. And so in 2002, I retired from Cornell University, and then I came back to Hawaii to direct the USDA research in Hawaii and the Pacific. So that's when I became the director of the U.S. Pacific Basin Agriculture Research Center in Hilo. So that was from 2002 to 2012. Then I retired at the end of 2012.
So what have you been doing since you've retired? There's no way that you just,
no.
the
There's no way. So I've been still doing a number of stuff on papaya. In fact, tomorrow, my wife and I. Hey, how are you, my man? He's my good friend, Dwight Takamini. He's next. Okay. Right.
Why don't we keep it together? Can you make me live here? Dwight, can you put that on just for a minute?
Okay, we've got Dwight Takamini here,
yes.
and we've got Dennis Gonzalez here, and so we've got everybody here.
Yeah, Dwight,
and we've got Bob Martin, who's got to talk into a microphone.
I'm just going to say that Dwight is our former representative for Kohala and has benefited this community in many, many different ways. We really miss him. He just retired from the state, and so we just want to get some choice words from him about what he sees in Kohala and what's going on. And welcome back, Dwight.
Thank you.
And Dennis, it's really a pleasure to have you as well. We just got told by our prior guest that you are well renowned beyond belief. So
I think
Jola is your big supporter. I got to tell you that. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
We've had direct experience and benefit from this man over here, and especially in agriculture. Especially in Hamakua. The help that started a long time ago. Some of the resource people, that Dennis really brought into the community too, and the assistance and support and guidance has really made a big difference. So I really appreciate this opportunity. It's a nice surprise to see Dennis here, especially being from having strong Kohala roots. Yeah, that's it, man. I'm a Kohala man. I was born and raised in Haleula.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking at the displays back there, and I could identify my house really in our camp. And but I still have my house on Kingsby Road.
Okay, you still own it there?
Yeah. My, we after the plantation, so they moved up, and then so I came back. Then my sister essentially gave me the house. She said, "Oh, would you plan to come to Kohala?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to come back to Kohala." So we come back to Kohala, and I've been working to renovate the house, and so I got to know Dwight after I came back here.
So any chance you're going to move from Hilo to Kohala?
I think, well, my wife, Carol, she's still going to school. She's doing a master's degree in Hawaiian studies at the University of Hawaii at Hilo.
Okay.
So she's starting her master's degree, and she wants to actually do something about the impact of change from the sugar plantation to now on the Hawaiian culture. So she's looking over here trying to figure out who she's going to interview.
Oh yeah, there's so much of that here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this is all about,
Yeah.
the transitioning from one period to the next.
Well, Dwight knows all about the transition when it went from sugar to all that. He was in the midst of it. I was in the mainland. But,
Well, tell us,
Actually, my father was the representative for Kohala at the time that the plantation, closed up. I believe the Castle and Cook announcement came in 1971, and the final closure was 1975. And so, the one thing that I think really stands out in all of that is the spirit of the Kohala community and the spirit of the people of Kohala. Because, when a community takes a body blow like that, then as the primary employer, and at that time, I think the population of Kohala was about 3,500 people. What do you do? All the uncertainty, And at that time, even the ILW, Local 142, that represented all of the workers and their families, stepped in, and because it organized and negotiated with the sugar industry, right away it took a position that before negotiations with the sugar industry would be completed, that they would have to take care of the Kohala situation and the Kohala people. And, I think, I guess if you were to really just kind of summarize, the whole, the process, though there was a lot of pain and there was a lot of struggle by so many families, you look at Kohala today, it's thriving. And I think, the task force that was created, the ILW, but basically the people here made sure that rather than disappearing, I think the pride and dignity of the people was maintained through the collective efforts and the unity that went along with that.
I've only been here 8 years, and I've listened to a lot of interviews that we've had conducted in the last 2 days. So I'm meeting all these people, and everybody's saying they've traveled all over the world, and Kohala is unique. Why is Kohala such a unique?
Well, they asked me that question the other day. I told them my basic values and personality were developed in the sugar plantation, and that's what I think we keep no matter where we go. And as so I was just a local boy, and then I go to the mainland, and then all of a sudden you're thrust in a Ivy League school where you have to compete in that level, in that mentality, but you never forget your roots. So that's what I told. I said, what Kohala gave me is just what I think Dwight said, is it gave me my basic personality, my basic character. And I think the basic character of Kohala came to the big test when the plantation closed, because the plantation was 95% of the community. And what do you do? And I think that's one reason why I think whoever started the Kohala Reunion every 5 years, they said they were reflecting, and they said, we cannot forget where we came from, even though there's huge changes. I mean, if you were in Kohala in the 1950s, 60s, it was a completely different place. People like you were not around. Only the only white people were the bosses. That's it. So it's changed dramatically, and I think what the people in Kohala, and I'm like an outsider, I came back 10 years ago, but I'm here. But I look at this, and I see Kohala, the Hamakua Coast, and Hawaii is changing, and we're in a critical time, I would say. It's a different era.
Yeah, if I can just piggyback onto Dennis's comment. To me, Dennis is one good example of that. That excelling in an area, but your personal set of values, is always not forgetting to give back, to Kohala, because when you were growing up here, all that you gained, and then that's I think that's part of the values that's embedded. And it's interesting because, for Kohala, I think part of it might be Kohala is relatively isolated.
Isolated.
Yeah, the history.
That was a beauty part.
Yeah. And as a result, I think when you look at the leaders, not only the leaders who have come out of Kohala and gone, beyond the boundaries and then came back to give back, but those who remain as part of the community and then providing leadership. Dennis talked about it. This whole program every 5 years, right? This Kohala community, the reunion. I think for any community, leadership is so important. And I think even today, Kohala Resource Center, with all the projects, the different projects that you folks help, facilitate, that's part of the leadership of, the community, creating additional opportunities for future generations of Kohala people.
And, I think, well, it's too bad you did not make it to the veterans, but, Larry Conda, a good friend of
we
mine.
interviewed him yesterday.
Well,
Larry,
his talk this morning reflected what is Kohala. He said, I went all over the world and this. He did a lot of wonderful things, but he said, I'm still a Kohala boy. And wherever he goes, he talks about his Kohala roots. And when he comes back, the first thing I came back, we went to have dinner at Honomakau. He was over there and talking. But I think that's what I like about these reunions, because, we all know that there's a lot of divisions in Hawaii, lots of divisions, and Kohala is no exception. And I think all of what Kohala is doing now is trying to find itself in the 21st century. And that is what people like White then faced when the sugar plantation closed. I wasn't around, but I can imagine what they got into.
White, you might have hit it nail right on the head, because as far as plantations and stuff, obviously, southern part of the United States had plantations, but they were not isolated. Of course, they brought in, right? Well, so they say here, but it wasn't isolated. And I think that isolation made you self-sufficient, and you had to live on your own and do things yourself, and you couldn't rely on somebody coming from somewhere else. Maybe that is what built Kohala, built the person you are, as you say.
Yeah, I think definitely that's the factor that contributed. But, I think at the very heart, I think it is the community values that people share. The kind of values that, Dennis talked about, that he learned and embraced while growing up here, and so many others that you folks know, right, that you work with on almost a day-to-day basis. How do you maintain that? How do you perpetuate that? When Dennis talks about, finding your direction in the 21st century and where do you go, I think Kohala, through whatever, different factors, has been able to strike that balance, to incorporate, new people with new ideas, but not forgetting what made Kohala special all along. And then these kinds of programs helping to perpetuate, that same common sense of, we're in this together. And you move forward on that basis, no matter what the challenge, even if part of the challenge is the disappearance of the economic base which served the whole community and so many families for over a century.
Yeah, and, for a long, long time, it was about the sugar plantation. And like my brother, he was in his late 30s, and all he knew was the plantation life. Then all of a sudden, he's out of a job. Now in Kohala, he's so isolated. Well, that's where the wisdom of Akoni Puli building their road, and that was essentially the savior of a lot of the jobs in Kohala. But with that comes changes, and everybody wants the comfort zone and so forth. And I think this is what Hawaii in general. You hear about the sugarcane burning lawsuits, the GMO lawsuits, 30-meter telescope. That's all symbolic of a place that's changing. And how it changes, I think everybody talks, well, we have to keep that aloha spirit in a change. And, it's easy to say, but it's very difficult to bring about. And I think here is where the political leaders, especially the community leaders, that's the kind of stuff you have to say. And I think I would venture, the more everybody understands their past and understands what's going to happen, then I think that maybe the more people can embrace changes with really a true aloha of trying to figure out what's the best for everyone. And people like Dwight, he's too bad he retired, but he has been doing that for many, many years.
Well, look, I think, Dennis, the comments he made really ring true. That while, elected officials generally play, a definite role in terms of deciding future direction, I think Kohala, again, shows its specialness, but by not losing sight of how important it is to remain true to yourself, the integrity, the grassroots nature. And you look at this program, right? Started yesterday, the formal part will end, Monday, but keeping people together, allowing people to work together towards common goals. And I think leadership, plays such a critical role in helping to make that happen. And I think here you have those people who stepped up to the plate and done what, Dennis just described. And whether it's you playing that role while you live, right, day in and day out as a member of the community, or whether you go out, gain whatever experience and, lessons in life and other things, and then come back and give back. That seems to be an important factor that has created to make Kohala unique in so many ways, and acting as a positive model for other communities to emulate, and I think, part of this is part of, that formula too. And I'm going to have to leave, but thank you very much for this opportunity, okay?
Thank you very much. And thank you. You're great. Both of you, we really appreciate your talk. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay. You're listening to KNKR LP 96.1 FM, Kohala Radio, and we just finished talking to former State Senator Dwight Takamini and the well-known, thank you very much, and the well-known Dennis Gonzalez and a plant pathologist and I guess world-renowned and now living in Hilo, and both born in Kohala and Kohala native. So very interesting. So Kohala has produced some really well-known, important people, as well as not well-known, important people. So very good. And we're going to turn it over to Bob Martin for a news update.
Yeah, this is Bob Martin reporting on the highway being closed at Halava. We are now getting reports that from the scene that there's some assurance from Helco that they will probably get this road back open within 2 hours. So we had reported earlier it might be as long as 4. We're not so sure that that's true anymore. We're getting reports that it's going to be 2 hours. So those that are trying to get home or to the events out there associated with the reunion, Nani's Lowy event, and the dance out this evening, that should be open in an hour or two. So just to provide that update to you, and we'll give you more as we get it.
Okay, thank you, Bob. That was fantastic. So sad that there's an event like that, but that's news, and that's exactly reality, and we're trying to keep you up to date. And if we hear more from Helco or anyone else, we will pass it along to the studio immediately. Carl T., if you're available and to play a song or two, now would be a good time, and then we'll come back if you give me like 5 minutes.
Okay, Len. All right. Thanks for the heads up, and we'll take it from here.
You're listening to KNKR 90.
The Kohala Reunion. We have Len and Bob standing by. Are you there, Len?
Hello. How are you?
You're
We
on.
are here at the 2015 Kohala Reunion, and I have Marie Hara here, who wrote a book recently, growing up in Kohala with her grandparents. It's called Banana Heart and Other Stories. And welcome, Maria.
I'm glad to be here.
And okay, so were you born here? Or?
I wasn't born here, and I'm not one of the Pride of Kohala people. I'm not in that very illustrious group. But I'm here, and I did live here as a child, so I'm very happy to be from here, at least for a part of my childhood.
And when did you write this book?
I wrote this book, oh gosh, it's almost 20 years now
ago,
but I have been writing ever since that time.
So tell us some of the history and some of the interesting stories.
Banana Heart is really a lot of fictional stories. I decided that nonfiction, and I had been doing oral history, was wonderful for people who want to get the story right. And I was interested in telling the story with a slant, with my own version of what happened. And generally, it's a story about being a child and not understanding what was going on. I was a kid who was born in 1943. I had bright red hair, and I ran around in my grandparents' garden, very free, very happy about being free and doing everything under the sun. So that was quite interesting in a bigger picture way. But I think I was always chasing after a path that seems to have escaped me as I got older, trying to make sense about what was going on. I started writing fiction as a byproduct of teaching writing fiction, creative writing. Okay. And I had to really tell my students what was up, And I know now, much older and much more a veteran of, the struggle to be creative, that there is no one way at all. In fact, there are many ways that are profitable. So I wrote this book, a collection of short stories, all fictional, but fictionalized from the past, a real past. I also wrote in a more, what's the word I want here, direct way for a magazine called The Sun. And this is The Sun section on what readers think about certain subjects. So this particular subject was sugar. Okay. And I wrote this for The Sun May 2010. So that's only 5 years ago.
The last time we had a reunion.
The last time there was a reunion, right. So this is what happened when I took another, what's the word again? I explored my grandparents' home a little more. I was about 5, and I moved around a lot faster then. I went outside by myself to look at the sugar cane up close. Another bright day of dazzling sunshine in our quiet Kohala village on the Big Island. And this is Kapa'au. Far from the cars, markets, paved streets of the city. Already bored by small-town life at age 5, I longed to play with somebody beside the older boys who always threw guavas at me. Nobody stirred from the other rickety houses. Many of the adults had left for Hilo or Oahu, where they hoped to find work in the military, like the younger men who had gone to fight as Americans in the war. Only the elderly and small children had stayed behind. My mama had left me with her parents so that she could get a job as a nurse in a real hospital, not a plantation office. My Japanese grandparents moved so slowly, watering plants or fixing our meals of rice and poi, and sometimes fish, that they made me impatient. I wrote Mama letters with my name spelled in block print next to a picture of a small girl looking up at the airplanes in the sky. My auntie, who lived in a house with peeling paint next to the Lucky Strike store, would write the address on the envelope and let me lick a 3-cent stamp to send the message to Mama in Honolulu. Now I sat on the back steps, the weathered wood. The fields of cane grew close to the clothesline behind our house. The overnight rain had left some droplets that glittered on the gently waving stalks. I knew that cane was abunai, dangerous. My grandparents had often warned me, don't you go out there. You'll be sorry if you do. Your feet will get all cut up. Well, I had slippers on. I loved to dance like a palm tree in the breeze while imagining that fairies appeared out of the shrubbery. I had read stories about fairies at the library and studied the illustrations. Now I wanted to see one for myself. Carefully, I made my way into the rows of cane, remembering every so often to look back at the house and get my bearings. But the cane was far taller, or was I much shorter than I thought, and I got lost. I tried to head back, but couldn't find my way. No fairies emerged. I remembered my grandmother telling me how, when she was young and worked in the fields, she and the other workers sang songs and could find each other that way. I sang Easter Parade loud, but no one heard me. I spotted a stalk of cane half broken off and thought about how the boys used their pocket knives to cut and peel the stalks, then chewed them to suck out every bit of the sweet juice inside. They never let me have any of it. I grabbed the broken stalk to yank it off, but the shiny green plant had fine, almost invisible prickles. A hot rush of pain crossed my palm, and I pulled my hand back. Not ready to give up, I reached to grab a big leaf instead, but it was rich with thorns that stung my fingers. With a yelp, I dropped the hateful green cane and dashed in what I hoped was the direction of home. After a few minutes, I flopped on the back steps, turned on the outside faucet, and ran water all over my itching, stinging hands. For days, my skin had tiny wounds from the sticky hairs and jagged leaves of the ugly sugar cane. My grandmother asked, "What have you learned?" I shrugged and stayed silent. I didn't want to look out at the fields of green anymore. They promised a sweetness I couldn't taste.
Thank you. And what year was that written?
This is probably something near 2010.
So that's more recent.
Much more recent.
And that's
yes.
based on your real life? Or that was...
Again, this is something that readers were asked to contribute from their life. So it's less fictional, more fictional, though, in the sense that we can't remember what we said or what people said when the time was 50 years ago or whatever, how many ever years it was. So we invent as we go to fill in the blank. But the circumstances were pretty clear.
Yeah. So when you had red hair and you were running around as a 5-year-old, I think you said, and that was here in Kohala.
In Kapa'au.
Kapa'au. And tell me about, you said you were living with your grandparents.
I was living with my grandparents.
And your mom.
And they were quite old.
Mm-hmm. And they were Japanese.
They were Japanese. My mother is Japanese. She was a hula dancer.
Yes.
She was a nurse.
Yes.
She was an absolutely wonderful, energetic person who had lots of friends.
Yes.
And she was looking for a job in Honolulu.
So that's why she was absent.
That's why she was
right.
absent.
We're talking with Marie Hara, who has written this delicious book and is really thrilling us with her story about how she lived here in
I would love to help
Kapa'au.
anyone who wants to write, learn how to write, or at least practice writing. Try a few exercises out and join the crowd of people trying to capture their childhood.
Now, Marie, do you live here in Kohala now?
No, I don't. No, I live in Makiki.
Where's
quite
Makiki?
a far way away on the island of Oahu.
Oh, that's on Oahu.
In Honolulu.
Oh.
And that's a good place for me at this point.
Yeah. How many years did you live in Kohala in Kapa'au?
Not very long, actually. I lived there until I was probably about 7.
Were you happy? Was that a happy time for you?
Yes, except, the awareness of how limited the place was.
And there wasn't there seems
was
to be more
real.
boys than girls to play with.
I don't know why. You know, I know that there were women and girls in my life, but I remember the boys throwing mangoes and guavas at me more than anything.
And how about your dad?
I don't remember my dad
don't
because he
remember.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was like, must have been during the war, right after the war.
And right after.
Like 45 or 6 or 7 or 8,
Right.
somewhere
So
in there.
if you start at
Yeah.
43,
We don't want to go there. You look like you're 15 years old.
No.
How old are you?
I'm old enough to remember World War II.
Yes.
And I'm thinking very strongly that, you know, that's something that we really never want to have happen again. So
You remember the actual day, Pearl Harbor, where you?
I wasn't born yet.
Oh, you wasn't.
Uh-huh.
You weren't.
Although my mother was one of the people who helped to carry the bodies
Ah.
to Queens Hospital, and she
Yeah.
was very. She remembered that. Absolutely.
Sure. That
And
was,
she told me that story many times.
yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything you say you would be glad to help people write, and you
Right.
you live on Oahu, so
Right.
I
They
know
can
that-
reach me
I
through
know
the
there's
email.
some young people here
Uh-huh.
who are learning to write or engaged in writing,
Right.
and the radio station has some people interested also. I think
Oh, great.
sooner or
Great.
later, getting into that area as well.
I'd love to meet them if they
Yeah.
can come on Sunday, tomorrow.
Well, we don't know if you're listening, and I'm thinking about the arts and the women's arts. That who is that? Is that Isla Allgood that's going to do that show?
Women's Voices.
Women's Voices.
Oh, great.
Isla, if you're listening to us, you hear this replay. You can be the second person to call in on that show.
884-5657-884 KNKX.
KNKR. And so, yeah, Isla in her show is celebrating the voices of art and music and of women here in North Kohala primarily and around the world. So,
Well, I wish you had been on when I was living here. I would have been listening to your
you probably would have been running
running circles around myself.
Yes,
Yes.
you would have. Yes, you would have. So you're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank
We
you
would
so
love to
much.
have you. And
Very nice of you.
thank you for sharing your background and your book.
And I just want to tell listeners about the past, that the past is never really past,
right,
and the future's here,
yeah,
but we have to explore it.
yes, we do.
Thank you.
We have to explore it while we're unpacking our trunk and looking for our future, and which is us. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marie. Marie Hara, and her book was Banana Heart and Other Stories. And let's see, who do we have? Oh, look at this. We have somebody, Lisa Ebrahimi is here. And as soon as she gets her headphones on, Lisa is a resident of Kohala. Lisa, when did you first come to Kohala?
Oh, about 23 years ago. We moved here from California.
I see. And ever since, you've enjoyed it?
Loved it.
And
Call it my home.
and what have you seen in, because you're not you weren't born here, but you've lived here a long time, as you said. So what have you seen as far as changes in the 25, 30 years you've been here?
Oh, I remember when I first moved here, downtown Hawaii was just a small little town, and it was actually going through a recession, and the old Takata store, which is now the Bamboo Restaurant, was just getting ready to close down, and next to the Takata store used to be a laundromat, and the laundromat is no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
And people used to gather at the laundromat. The motorcycle gangs would come drive in and park in the parking lot.
A bull laundromat?
Yes, and across the street from the laundromat used to be a pizza place. And they used to, on Friday and Saturday nights, they would play the different sports games up on the TV, and people would go down there on Friday and Saturday
What
nights.
happened to that place?
I don't know. John and Dixie Adams had first opened the pizza place, and then they sold it. And then I can't remember who else owned it, but
that's too bad.
It got run down and then closed down. And then I think for a while it was a German food place.
I know the German food place. I was talking about that earlier with Bob.
Yes, so it went from a pizza place to a German food place.
Okay, give us the name of the woman who ran it.
Oh, I can't remember her name. The German food place?
Yeah.
I know German food in North Kohala.
Yeah, do you remember what it was back when
it was a pizza place?
Pizza place when that would be the pizza place that was started by John Adams.
John and Dixie Adams.
And the lawyer over in Guatemala whose name I can't remember. This is the problem with history because we're all CJs, we can't see our S. So it's like but that's what it was.
Yeah, it was a pizza place, and then I actually bartended there a few nights a week when I first moved.
That's exactly right.
And so there was that. And
then when Brian was here, Brian and I went down there with you and Sharon there.
Yeah, and then across the street we would do our laundry at the laundromat.
Yeah.
And then there used to be next to Takata store, which is now the Bamboo Restaurant, used to be another gas station. Remember that little gas station?
Yeah.
So we had like 2 gas stations and Takata store, and that was about it.
And the building where we are currently located at the Resource Center, the Takata building, was Dawn's.
Dawn's,
and you'd come into Kohala on the coast road, and that's the first thing you'd see is Dawn's. And for many years, I looked at Dawn's and wondered, what is in Dawn's? And finally I went in there, and it was the most incredible place I'd ever been, with all the stuff hanging from the ceiling and on the walls, shelves and shelves and shelves of general stores. And it was never associated with the plantation. It was always privately owned. The Kohala family owned it and ran it.
I remember Dawn's.
Dawn's, yeah.
I think you could...
I think it was the Kohala family that did that, but it's probably not. It's probably Dawn.
Remember Dawn?
Yeah, I do remember Dawn. Yeah.
And I think he would rent out Filipino videos.
Yes. Well, that was later. That was under a new owner, a new proprietor, yeah.
I was having a pizza place. I thought that was interesting.
Yes.
Sports, like sports bar?
And it was a sports bar and pizza place.
Mm-hmm.
We've had many bars, haven't we?
I was just trying to think of how many bars we've had.
That have shut down.
Well, Luke's has been through 4 or 5 iterations at the Village Inn.
Yes.
So owners 1, 2, 3, at least 4. Since I've been here, maybe 5. And then the Lighthouse Liquors.
They closed down. But the staples of, I think, Javi or Nakahara and Shiggy's gas station have held true. And the real estate office is still there. And Bamboo Restaurant, it's been there a while.
Yeah.
Takata store.
It seemed to me the transition really began as, and you were a part of this, Lisa, when Joan Shannon and Jim got Bamboo, bought the building from the Takata family when the Takata store moved up to where it is today. And when it took Bamboo 2 or 2.5 years to get open, it seems to be, and you were part of that. You were in there working, painting and stuff, as I recall.
I was.
But when Bamboo opened like a flower, it changed downtown Javi, and it's never been, it went from almost dead, 2 cars, 3 cars parked on the street all day long, that was it, to it started growing.
It did.
And as Javi turns, opened right next door in Clara Takata's old salon.
Yes. And there is John Adams right there.
Yes, they're walking back and forth.
Yeah.
Come here, John Adams.
Yeah.
Let's ask him.
We were just speaking about John Adams, and guess who walked in with a Kohala Reunion T-shirt on?
John Adams.
We were on the air.
That's wonderful. I listened to the music on the way down here. It was wonderful.
John, what was your pizza place called?
Ohana Pizza.
Oh, that's right. Ohana Pizza. And how long was it open?
Well, we opened it
we had it open for 1 year. We had 2 great days. One was the day that we opened because we gave away free pizza and beer.
Right.
And the other day was 1 year later to the day that we sold it to Mark Schwartzman, and I cashed his check, and that was a better day.
And then you opened the real estate office.
No, then I opened across the street where Aloha Man is. I opened a visitor center there first, and we had some of the old timers, Sarah Pooley, and all the ladies would come down and man it, and that was a visitor center. And then I opened the real estate office there. Then I moved across the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you were part of the whole Ainakea. You know, Ainakea came about because of you.
Well, I had a partner, and we built some of the affordable housing. We did 37 of the affordable houses, which I am very proud of, because the houses, even today, look wonderful. I mean, they don't look like some of the old affordable housing that used to be, you know, where it's all look the same, all 1056 HVM package houses. So turned out to be a very nice community. I'm very proud of it.
Yes, because, you know, without Ainakea, we would have nowhere to go on Halloween.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Everyone in town goes to Ainakea for trick-or-treating.
So is that where the candy is?
Yes.
It's so funny. I look up and down the street now and to see what changes happened. And I realize I've been involved in 6 businesses on the main street over the years, over 37 years. It's just I'm very proud. It's the town has grown. You have to have a certain amount of growth to have jobs. And while we talk about keep Kohala, we also have to be viable economically.
When did you first arrive in Kohala, Jim?
I came here in January of 1979 from Oahu. And we always joke about how did you find Kohala, and it was purely by accident. Yeah. And I can't think of another place to live. It's a wonderful place.
And we're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
And you also belong to the Lions Club, and you're very active in the Lions Club.
Actually, I'm known as Dixie's husband in this town.
That's what I always thought.
Yeah, and I've lost my name, my identity. I'm Dixie's husband because she's involved in everything.
I thought it was the auctioneer.
That's another thing.
Okay.
So, and be sure at 4:00 we have an auction. So, so I expect you to be out there and raise your hand because I'm looking for buyers. So,
John, before we go, you came in 1971. So you were here in 1974-75 when Kohala Sugar phased out. Do you remember that? Can you tell stories about that?
No, I came in January of 79. So the mill had just closed, and the town was kind of deteriorating a lot, and all the children were leaving to get jobs because there were no jobs. There was only one hotel when I came here, which was Mauna Kea.
And was there any little motels or hotels like Kohala Village Inn?
The Village Inn was in operation, but it was just after the state had spent $3 million to try to do the Kohala Task Force, it was called, and they tried to start many, many businesses. And the only one that really succeeded was Kohala Nursery, the Kohala Nursery, which employed about 40 people. All the other, I was not involved, but I knew about all the other little businesses, and slowly they all seemed to fail. So,
well, we're on
one of the businesses that you didn't remember is the Kohala Coffee Mill that you and Dixie started.
Well, that was Dixie. You see, I bought the building. Actually, I bought the building, and we had a vacant spot there, and I couldn't imagine what can we do with that spot. So it was a garage. So Dixie and I went to Seattle, and we did some research on Seattle's best coffee and Starbucks, which had really just started up this many years ago. And so Dixie went down to Kona, and we got it very involved in selecting the beans and making sure that we had 100% Kona coffee. And so the idea was that as a tourist would come in, they would stop there. And in those days, we only served coffee in paper cups, so that they would take their paper cup and walk up and look in as hobby turns. And where the woman would go in to buy something, and then the man would walk outside the real estate office and look in the window, and hopefully we could stop him and sell him some real estate. So.
Well, speaking of selling, the ladies at the Kamehameha booth, who are raising money for Kamehameha Day, would like you to come by and support their Kamehameha Day celebration, and you can buy a T-shirt if you like for $15.
So, okay, so you're listening to KNKRLP 96.1 FM, Kohala Radio, and we have John Adams here, and we have Bob Martin here, and we have Lisa Ebrahimi here, and I'm Len Winkler. And but it's about it's after 3, so we've got a little time to. You said there's going to be an auction. Promote the auction a little bit. Somebody 3:24.
The auction is supposed to be at 4:00.
Okay.
And I understand there's going to be a pig and a steer and maybe a goat. It's going to be a short auction to try to raise some money for this function. So I'll do my part, and so I'm looking for hands to be raised in the audience. So.
It's a livestock auction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I've watched you in action. I think you know what you're doing.
Well, I think we're so lucky to have you here on the radio. I think you added a great deal to it. I'm very happy. Very happy.
It's a great, exciting new venture.
And it's an exciting thing to have a radio station finally in town. I mean, well, we got a little communication going on. So
thank you very much. Our second day. So, we've got our diapers on, and let me tell you, they're stained, and we're bubbled. But tomorrow they'll be cleaner.
Well, as I say, I can hardly wait to turn the radio on as I drove down here from my house today to listen. I think I listened to Kindy Spode. I listened to
wonderful music.
The music we all know and love, and that was super. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John.
Okay, again, that was John Adams, a very visible and well-known person in this community in Kohala, as well as someone who's done a lot of good for it and been involved heavily in,
He certainly has. He's been heavily involved in the community, belongs to the Lions Club, the Hospital Auxiliary, all kinds of charities him and his wife are involved in and help the community quite a bit.
Well, Lisa, I know that you're going to be doing a little bit on KNKR Radio, and you're going to be doing what? Tell us.
I'm going to be doing the police report. I know that, around our island, a lot of times North Kohala gets left out of the news. So I'm going to try and tell a little bit about what's happening in our community as far as crime is involved and our police report.
And so hopefully your segments will be short.
I think they will be, because so far I've had to do quite a bit of research, and I've come up with very little. So that's a good thing.
It's a great thing.
It is. Our community has very little crime, which is wonderful. But I will be on the radio, and if anyone has any questions or concerns, feel free to call in or go on our website at KNKR and ask us any questions that you want, and hopefully we'll be able to give you information.
And to those of you listening, we are very receptive. We encourage you to submit ideas, suggestions, comments regarding programming you'd like to have. This is a community radio station, and I can't stress that enough. It is not a big, mega-owned or anything else radio station. It is a community-orientated, not-for-profit, non-commercial, all volunteer radio station. And we want it to be your radio station, inclusive of each and every one of you. So if you have ideas, if you want to be a radio personality, excuse me, a disc jockey, you want to do a music show, you want to do a talk show, you have something you want to do a show on, let us know. We need you, actually, if you want to help us in the day-to-day operations of the radio station. We need you.
Yes, call in, come by.
And we have online at knkr.org. We have applications to be a DJ, a radio show host. We have applications to do day-to-day activities, and anything. Right now we're trying to alphabetize and categorize and genreize our albums. As I said earlier, we have close to 2,000 albums, vinyl albums now. It was so unbelievable. We had some kids come from the schools, and one looking is, what is that? They never saw a record player before. So we have a couple of them in the studio, and we'll be playing vinyl records.
And we're actually getting the children involved, aren't we, Bob?
Well, yeah, the students at the high school they're beginning to give them an opportunity to get together and do radio there in the coming school session. In fact, I'm meeting with the principal hopefully in the next week or so to talk a lot about that and a couple of other things. But yeah, we're finally at the point where now that we're on the air and now that we're getting a production studio all equipped, we're at a point where we can actually bring people in and start teaching them through experience on how to do radio. And I'm one of those that's learning, and I don't even know what I'm doing, but here I am talking on the radio. So if I can do it, a lot of people can.
You are an exception to that statement of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Now, that's not to suggest that you're an old dog, but
Pretty old.
but you are learning some new tricks, which,
I would say so.
I mean, you're being forced into it.
I would say so.
And I just heard in the past hour and a half, Timothy Pontius on our website talking about how Halava Gulch had been closed down due to a power line and a tree down, and who had the news first? But it was KNKR.
Well, actually,
right here.
we were all tied. We were tied. My wife Karen Rosen came in and said she got it on the Coconut Network down at the coffee shop about the same time we got it. So, and then I went outside, and Gino Amar, the announcer outside, said, "I already know that." So, but
we have pictures and video on our website.
That's exactly right. So if you want to know exactly where the break is, you can look on the website and see that.
And thank you, Timothy Pontius, because we haven't heard from you enough, Timothy. We really going to need you to come on down, and we need to discuss more because that kind of reporting was fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I want to take a little change of pace right now and talk about tomorrow morning. We're going to be broadcasting again at 10 a.m. here at the Reunion, and we have a really rare privilege that we have coming up tomorrow morning at 10:30. Rodney Casimiro, who grew up here in Kohala and has a lot of friends here in Kohala, is going to join us, maybe with some of his friends, and if he can, if they dare, to talk with with him. Because these guys talk and email every day to each other.
And what time will that be?
That's going to be at 10:30 in the morning. And actually, Rodney's just autographed his Kohala Moon CD for Kohala Radio, and I'm going to take that down to the station later this afternoon, and we're going to be playing some of the new moon, Kohala Moon from Rodney Casimiro before we talk with him. And so that ought to be a lot of interesting stories about how he went from Kohala to this great career that he's had in music. So back to Lisa. So did you give a report yet on what you're doing?
Well, I'll be giving a police report this Monday, and hopefully we won't have a lot to report, but I do have a little bit to report. So I'm looking forward to it, and you can tune in to KNKR and to find out your local North Kohala Police beat.
Yeah.
And right now, while the three of us are sitting here talking, we can accept a phone call. If someone would like to call
To be number 2.
To be the number 2 phone caller in the history of KNKR, you can call 884-KNKR. That's 884-5657. And Carl T. is manning the phones in the studio, and he will put you on with us, and we can talk story here right on KNKR in Kohala, live at the Kohala 2015 reunion. So don't hesitate. Now, we have some programming coming up next week. Now, Lisa, you mentioned about doing a police spotter. We're going to have on Tuesday, Riding Home with Carl. And that's Carl T. And he's going to be on from 10 to 12 because we're going to be a soft opening from 10 to 12 for the next couple of weeks until the 27th when we go full morning block from 7 to noon. But for the next 2 weeks, just 10 to 12 for our soft opening. So Riding Home with Carl T., that's going to happen on Monday.
And what is that about?
Well, this is a Carl T. exclusive, and I'd hate to step on his parade.
Oh, well,
but I know.
Yeah, I can tell you what it's about.
Okay. Oh, there's Carol T.
Carol T.
Okay. Well, yes, it's going to be a music show basically, and it's going to cut across all different kinds of music, from blues to jazz to rock to folk to world music to local Kohala musicians. So it's going to be a journey into the musical world of the world. Yes, a musical world of the world, yeah. So anyway, it's going to be all types of music, and it's going to be fun. So
and Carl T., you're going to be doing also on Thursday at 10 o'clock a show, a rumor has it, along with me. It's Riding Home with Swap Shop.
Yeah, we're going to blend those two shows together. It should be fun.
It will be unique. And we're going to try to buy, sell, and trade some used items, whatever you have. Remember, one person's garbage is another person's treasure. So, you have to have something that you want to get rid of, something that you want to sell, something that you want to buy, something that you want to trade. And all you're going to have to do is call 884-5657, and we'll put you on the air and hopefully sell or buy it.
This is Bob again. I'm just asking, since the swap shop is not something I've ever listened to on the radio. Like, I've got an old, like a 10-year-old riding lawnmower made by Honda.
Absolutely.
And just all it needs is a new starter. And it's a handy person could make that thing whirl. And I would love to move that on. I'm using electric lawnmowers now, trying to satisfy the green urge of the community. And so I'm just announced right now, I got a really nice 4-wheel riding lawnmower that I used over the years, and it would be kind of cool to have that stay in the community and the swap shop.
I guess you don't have to be on yet the show, and if you know the right people, you can get that mentioned earlier.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, what if you have like an old 50-year-old husband you want to move on?
Well,
no personal ads are permitted.
I don't know about a 50-year-old, but a 76-year-old husband, you could probably move him.
Yeah. Would anybody like one of those?
That's called pillow talk.
Okay, this is family programming, and anyway, so yes, that's exactly what we want, the Honda mower. Those types of
just
things.
give it to someone.
If you want, you can give it as a gift, of course. You'll get the phone will be ringing off the hook because we have thousands of listeners.
You can list that right now.
You're going to ship it to the person in Brazil that listens. You're not shipping it. No,
shipping's not included.
I see.
I want to keep it in the community or on the island at least.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll find somebody for that.
I'll deliver it.
And oh my goodness. And so then Carl T. is also going to be doing his show on Fridays from 10 to 12, Riding Home with Carl. So we're going to get more of that music. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to have your Kohala Connection with Forrest Arnold. And he's going to be talking about all kinds of issues and all kinds of interesting topics that involve Kohala specific. So that's why it's called the Kohala Connection.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lynn, can people call in to give you community calendar events?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, not call in, but they can do it online or by email. But yes, not call in. So they can they certainly go on knkr.org, and you can see how you can submit a PSA. And we encourage the nonprofit organizations in Kohala to submit PSAs that they would like and community calendar events.
That's fantastic, because I think there's lots of actual courses down here at Camp Park that are being offered that the community would like to know about, and hopefully I'm going to be getting some of that information at the pool, at the tennis court,
Those are
and right here
essential.
at the gym. This summer, they'll be providing all kinds of swim courses and gym classes. So we'll be reporting those in the Times and getting out to the community.
We hope to be able to be a central location for listeners of the community, for the people who live in the community, to listen, turn on KNKR. Uncle David's Big Show is going to premiere on July 27th,
What
at
is
7 o'clock.
what is Uncle David doing?
Well, Uncle David is this big show, and it's going to have music, a lot of interesting stuff that you wouldn't normally hear on any other radio station.
Okay.
A lot of vinyl, classic vinyl, because he's really into that. So into classic vinyl, we got 2 turntables that he is knows how to use them really well.
Would that be classical music on vinyl or classic vinyl from 1930 with some sort of a musical 1930 trombone or something?
I think that is a question that Uncle David could probably answer better
that would probably be good
than Swap Shop Lenny. He's going to have that. He's going to have the surf report. He's going to have a fishing report. He wants to have weather, of course, news, of course, the police blotter.
Yes. And also, I just heard that anyone traveling to Honolulu this weekend, there's flood advisories. There'll be flooding going on. I guess they're expecting heavy rain.
Well, hopefully heavy rains and no flooding, but of course, flooding, there's flood
warning.
Well, what's going on there is a low pressure area, which is a cold front area, which is very unusual for the June, July period in Hawaii. And that's a very slow moving, but it's past Kauai. It's moving towards Oahu now, and they're probably going to get some pretty good rain. The big question is whether it's going to get all the way down here and whether it's going to produce some changes and some rain and changes in the weather patterns down here, which have been high humidity and kind of scorching weather. So we're looking forward to seeing how that's going to turn out this weekend.
We could sure use some rain, certainly in other parts of the Big Island, even more so than in Kohala, because there's droughts in most of the Big Island is a drought area. So hopefully a lot of water, but not any flooding. So, and again, a flood watch. That means that conditions can happen, but a flood warning meaning that it's happening. So that, we don't want
to watch it.
Right. Yeah. So just be prepared, never go into a stream of water that's flowing, anything like that. You always have to be very, very, very careful of that. We will try to stay on top of weather on our station also. One thing for those of you listening, and especially for those of you listening online or on the TuneIn app on your smartphone and you're not in Kohala, if you go to knkr.org, you will see the weather report. We have a live weather station in downtown Hawaii, 24/7 there. So it's telling you the wind, the precipitation. You can look at a brief history of what happened in the last 24 hours. Bob, you want to tell us?
You got everything you ever wanted to know about the weather, both in terms of how it is right now, temperature, humidity, wind speed, wind direction, and other things. And you can see what the forecast is for as far out as you want to go, like almost 2 weeks. So, and it's very clear, like charts and graphs, and it's right in downtown Hawaii. In fact, it's the weather station that is located about, less than 50 yards from the station, the Kohala radio station. So it's very appropriate if you're in the Hawaii and no Kohala area to take a look at that weather if you want some really good facts about it.
Or if you want to brag because you're, in Alaska and you want to show your friends where you're from, because you're from Kohala, you can show them, look, it is 87 degrees, not 23 below.
That's right. And if you have the Underground Weather app on your iPad or iPhone, you can add the downtown Hawaii to that, and then when you go on vacation to Honolulu or drive down to the volcano, you can keep up with the weather here in Kohala.
Now, Bob, I know you've been following the weather for quite a few years here in North Kohala, and this year we've had quite a bit of precipitation, haven't we? Have we had more rain than usual?
Well, it's interesting. Through today, we've had 29.4 inches of rain in Kohala this year. And during the period of time that I've been keeping records, the average rainfall for Hawaii has been about 42 inches a year. That, in the almanac, if you look at North Kohala, you'll see that the average is supposed to be about 55, and that goes back hundreds of years, 100 years when they first started those records. So we've been under average for many, but for the last, I started in 2005, and so we've been under the average since 2005. So that's like 10 years.
So finally, this year, we're starting to come back up.
Last year, we had 62 inches, which was the largest rainfall we've had in many years. And this is the halfway mark. July the 1st is the halfway mark, and we're at 29. So that says that maybe we will have another good rain year this year. And that speaks well for a lot of things.
Yes, it does. For our farmers, our agriculture here in North Kohala, our ranchers.
We're blessed with the ditch. We're blessed with keeping that ditch up. And I think we're blessed with the future of the ditch if we can keep local ownership. And I'm speaking for myself in my own opinion, rather than having the state take that ditch over. I think that would be a big mistake on the part of the state. And I think we've demonstrated in our community that we can take care of the ditch. And so that's a real infrastructure, important infrastructure in our whole effort to keep Kohala.
That's right. What year was that ditch actually built? Was that at the turn of the century?
Yeah, the ditch was completed in 2002 at the expense of many lives that were Chinese people who were digging the ditch.
1902.
Did I say
2002?
I'm sorry, 1902.
That's 1902.
Right.
Wow.
And it was rebuilt in 2006, 7, and 8 after the earthquake in 2006, October. So,
I remember that.
Yeah, so the ditch is over a century old at this point. And of course, it was put together with wooden beams and so forth. And so, now it's really been updated to more modern times. And so it should last quite a bit longer.
Oh, that's fantastic.
You're listening to Bob Martin on KNKR and Lisa Ebrahimi and Len Winkler on KNKR 96.1 Kohala Radio. And I just wanted to mention, because I didn't want to leave it out absolutely, is on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays, we're going to have Women's Voices with Isla. So she's going to be Kohala-centric, but with women and voices, with their music, etc. And if you go on KNKR website and you go on the on-air schedule and you click on her, you can get a whole biography on any of the shows. You can click on anybody, even Swap Shop. You can get a whole kit and caboodle of what's going on in that show. So Wednesday is going to be Women's Voices with Isla, and on Thursdays from 11 to 12, we're going to have Eco Talk with Holly. So you're going to hear anything you want to know about composting and recycling and anything to do with Eco Talk. So a lot of good shows coming up. And again, I can't emphasize enough, we need your input. So you can always call. If we have a show online that's live, it's always going to be 884-KNKR, 884-5657, right?
Fantastic.
Okay.
And call in, write in, come online, see us, talk to us.
And we have investigative reporters. So if there's anything, you want us to investigate, we might be able to do it.
Yeah, private investigator. Right?
Well, I don't know about private, but and we have another prominent person who just walked away.
Here we are at the Kohala Reunion. Does anybody know how many people are attending the Kohala Reunion?
I have not. This is Bob Martin again. There are statistics in the Kohala Mountain News about how many families registered, but it doesn't give you a total estimated number of people that were expected. But I think just walking around here the last 2 days, it appears to me to be certainly more than 2,000, I would say, that I've seen here on the grounds in the park. And maybe by the end of the weekend, it might get up to 3,000, but I don't think it's going to like 10,000. So that's about 2,000 to 3,000.
And I would like to, being a business owner in Hawaii, I would like to thank all these Kohala Reunion people, because I have spoken to a lot of business people down in Hawaii, and they said they're having a gangbuster week due to the fact that all these wonderful people are down here for the Kohala Reunion, and they're shopping in downtown North Kohala, and everyone is just thrilled to have them here. So thank you for coming and being a part of the community again and visiting us. We love having you.
and the reunion is going on for 2 more days. And it's chock full of stuff tomorrow and on Monday. So it's not ending. And there's entertainment this evening?
Yes, I think there's entertainment until about 10 o'clock. I don't have my schedule right in front of me, but, you really can't. Most of it's all Kohala musicians, Kohala music, and you can't go wrong to come out and here to the park and listen to the musicians playing in the tent right out in front of the gym. That's a lot of fun, and there may even be some kachi-kachi dancing and maybe a kachi-kachi contest. I'm not so sure. For those of you who don't know what kachi-kachi is, you can ask anyone who lives here, and maybe even Lisa would be able to explain kachi-kachi.
Well, I've seen kachi-kachi dancing, and it looks like a lot of fun. And if I were you, I would come on down and put your dancing shoes on and shake a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And ask somebody here that's local to explain the term kachi-kachi and how that got related to dancing in Kohala. That'll be a good conversation.
Yes, it would.
Okay. All right. So you don't want to explain it yourself, I see.
Maybe we'll explain that tomorrow if you tune back in.
Oh, okay. Oh, a teaser. Oh, Bob is learning teasing on the air to get you to listen and tune in tomorrow. And now he's laughing. Be careful, 911. They're busy out there. Okay. So we have to continue on here. It's kind of winding down inside the gym. All the action is really outside. And I think, Carl T., if you're there,
I'm here.
Suggest that you. Okay, Carl, I'd suggest that maybe go to a few songs, and we're going to call it a day after Bob gets through here, and we'll be looking forward to being back on at 10 a.m. live from the reunion.
Yeah, I just wanted to report. I'm sitting here checking the time on my cell phone to see, because we're going to be going off air here shortly. But here's a text message that I just got from Jim and Jessica Peterson. Listening nonstop from Airborne. Nice job. You sound great. I'm more just broken. In fact, I'm working on it now. If I'm working, I mean cursing. Would love to give yours a second life. Aloha, Jim and Jessica.
Oh.
So that's the power of radio right there.
What's the power of Len's Swap Shop?
That's right. Len's Swap Shop, yeah.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jessica. We'll be talking to you soon.
Well, they get the distinction of being the first item swapped.
They get the distinction of being the first text message read on the radio.
Well, okay. All right.
Thanks, Jim.
All right. And Carl?
Right
Carl
here.
T?
I'm right here. We got some kachi-kachi music coming on. Okay.
Kachi-kachi music.
Okay, so you've got some music playing, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. This is Lisa Ebrahimi and Len Winkler signing off from the 2015 Kohala Reunion.
Good day. Aloha.
Aloha.
Where the ladies always sway, and the men they always say, what a very happy day. Everybody get together to clap their hands and sing this song now. Destiny Caribe, Destiny me cha cha cha, Destiny Caribe, Destiny me cha cha cha, Destiny Caribe, Destiny me cha cha cha, Kachi Kachi music.
John Chiave. It's 4:02. You've been listening to KNKR 96.1 FM LP in Hawi, North Kohala. Tune in tomorrow for more interviews and excitement from the Kohala Reunion. We're going to start broadcasting again with Uncle David at 10 o'clock. and we'll be broadcasting 10 to 4 again tomorrow, Sunday. So hope you enjoyed the broadcast for today. This is Carl T. signing off. Aloha.